A retired US Admiral has been charged in an ongoing high-profile bribery scandal, along with 8 other current and former Navy officers. The scandal has been dragging on for 4 years now. With more details is RT's Caleb Maupin.
Imagine serving in the U.S. Navy. What comes to mind is probably standing on the deck of a ship, perhaps overseeing aircraft, or maybe even participating in a military parade. But for some naval officers, apparently their service included staying in expensive hotel rooms, smoking $2,000 cigars, being provided with $25,000 watches, and, of course, sex workers. This is all what's at the center of an ongoing scandal, what they're calling the Fat Leonard scandal that's been going on since 2013. At the center of the scandal is Leonard Glenn Francis. He's a Singapore-based military contractor, and he's essentially being charged with extracting classified information from U.S. naval personnel and then using that information to milk the Navy for millions. Now, at this point, 25 people have been indicted, including 20 current and former Navy officers. Now, the indictment has some quite interesting details in it. One of the passages that stands out is it says that rare memorabilia related to General Douglas MacArthur was used by participants in sexual acts. The acting U.S. Attorney General is calling this a betrayal of the U.S. Navy by epic proportions.
Now, the scheme reportedly cost the Navy and US taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Former Pentagon official Michael Maloof joins me now on the line to discuss this story in more depth. Welcome, Michael. I was just reading, actually, just to clarify for people, that there's something like 25 defendants in the case overall. We said there it's been dragging on for years. And many of them, I think 13, have already pleaded guilty to this. So it's not like these are just allegations here. And it's really damning, isn't it, for the US Navy? Foie gras and sex workers traded for classified information. Are you surprised just how many people were involved in this?
Yes, and it is pretty. It's a slam dunk case, and I believe the perpetrator in Singapore has pleaded guilty to it all, as has Admiral Lovelace. It's a tragedy. It's another mark against the military, and it really reflects corruption away from Washington. And I'm glad that they were able to catch them, because this kind of activity cannot be tolerated. The fact that classified information was handed to them in order that they could benefit, and in terms of contracts and what have you, is reprehensible. And I'm glad they've gotten to the bottom of it. And this actually dovetails and coincides with the latest scandal in the Marine Corps of websites depicting women in very bad positions, and reflects very, very poorly on the morale and integrity of our military. And
it kind of exposes some security weaknesses, I would suggest, given that this went on for at least 4 years. There was even a recruitment process, it's claimed, that new members were brought in. There was the use of fake names, foreign email addresses. I mean, the fact that this went on for so long, isn't this going to be really difficult for the Navy to shake off? I mean, it's a really damning indictment of how they run things.
Well, in terms of the network, I think they're going to try and track it down. Sometimes they'll bring these people up for charges in order to learn more who was involved. And I'm sure, given that it was out in the Far East, it's far, far away from Washington oversight. So that's what they were taking advantage of. Plus, they were something triggered the investigation, and fat bank accounts, money exchanges, and when they undergo security checks, oftentimes they'll see an unusual development in bank accounts and what have you. But these are flags, but there were some 27 in all, and that we know of, and I'm sure that there are other networks out there that we just haven't heard of. This is a way. Singapore is an interesting place, and they live and thrive off of exports and off of this kind of work. So it would be in Fat Leonard's interest to try and cultivate the the U.S. Navy and then build that network of his in order to gain those contracts. So it's pathetic on the one hand, but you can understand why he did it in terms of survival and developed this network, which finally was penetrated. I think there are probably other networks out there, and they're going to be uncovered eventually.
Yeah, watch this space for more on that. Many thanks, Michael Malouf, former Pentagon official, bringing us his thoughts.
My pleasure.